glean from this young man. Now, I don't read by times. It's not just financial, obviously, even though that is well taken care of, but also is in other aspects of life. And as we were talking earlier on today, I was trying to explain to him that I think I understand one of his secrets, which I will share. And when we start talking, but for me, he clocked a milestone age. I'm sure he's not ashamed of his age, like he's not ashamed of the gospel. He turned 40, a few months after after me. But I now told him that this is your 40th interview. You're going to watch this interview I wrote an article. In his own case, I'm like giving you an opportunity. Since you didn't write article, this is your article. So you will speak your mind. And I will do my best to stop at some point, and then the people here who are very hungry to draw from you will draw. It's recorded, it's going to YouTube, so all your proteges and every other person, and all the generations that will come after us, Unreligious, will listen to it. Unreligious is our revival weapon. It sounds very cliche when I say it, or it sounds like, what can this be? Revival. But no, it's a generation that asks questions. And we have created that platform where people can ask questions. And they're not going to be ashamed of your questions. And your questions will lead to actual results. Now, one of the things he asked me before I invite him, he said, "Are you ready for the truth?" I said, you can't talk truth more than me now. In quotes, if it's truth, at least from my own end. In other words, are you ready for borderline? Of course, he's a responsible man of God. Pastor will not allow if Pastor loves his sheep and protects it very well. Anyway, but that aside, ladies and gentlemen, it is with my great honor and privilege to invite to the stage to join me this evening, Sola Adeyinka. Thank you very much. Please have a seat. All right, thank you. So, Mr. Adeyinka, thank you for having us, and thank you for joining us. And very excited to be here. Full disclosure, we know each other outside of this place, but doesn't matter. Charity begins at home. So I won't waste time, but I'll begin from the fundamentals. You launch your foundation. 40-year-old launching foundation. Bill Gates is under the boys launching foundation. What statement were you trying to make, sir? Can you begin by, and I know I'm ambushing with that question, what gives you the temerity, or why do you think that you should have launched the foundation? Just to break the ice. And I'm not obviously just trying to my style. So what statement were you making? And we'll begin from there.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Sphere of Influence. Good evening. Trust you guys are doing great. Okay, and thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let me observe protocols. Thank you to the pastorate of this church for inviting me, for allowing me to do this. Thanks, my brother, for telling me to do this. And okay, so I clocked 40 on Sunday, and I decided to, for once, I just got to that point where I said my age is catching up with my look. Like, okay, so at least things are balancing up. Before I enter a place and people are like, it was something I enjoyed a lot, because people are trying to profile you and they cannot put an age to it because the white hair just confuses them. Okay, why did I start a foundation at 40? And I'll tell you something that the way I've always thought about life, it's maybe in my own way different. And it's because a lot of us think that what we need to excel in life is different from reality, what we actually need. So typical thing is that most people get to the age of 60, 70 and decide to start a foundation because they wrongly assume that what you need to make impact is having a lot of money. Whereas as you grow older, you realize that what you need to have impact is actually your youthful energy. So for me, anything you will really count important and you don't do with your youthful energy is really not important. Simple as ABC. So if I believe that giving back, making an impact on my world is important, then I must find a way, to put it in my current reality. So I don't get to that point. It's like, the way I describe it is like a young lady. You are in university. And your parents don't want any guy to speak to you. Any guy comes to greet you at home and they chase the guy away. And then one day just passes, you graduate, and 1 month after graduation, they're asking you, no man is looking for you. You are looking at them like, but yesterday you were just chasing all the guys that came to check on me. Why? Because they could not understand the place of multitasking. Really. And that's for me what's important. That, impacting your world, you have to find a place while you are facing life, while you are still trying to build wealth, to say, this is the time to do this. I don't think there's going to be a better time. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I heard you say, and you made a very profound point, that anything you cannot do when you're young, then you should forget about it. Not forget about it, but it means that. And I begin to see some correlations in my head, because a lot of us are actually just chilling as young people, and we're like, don't worry, when I finally have all the money I have, I will now do. So I think that's the first word for someone, that you're wasting time and your impact can start right away. Now, Shola, the topic for today is born again, spirit-filled, and shrewd. Honestly, you inspired that topic, because I know you personally. And not to embarrass you or anything, but you're actually a very, very disciplined businessman. In fact, and in some cases, when I've seen scenarios, not you particularly, but people like you, who are very shrewd. Like, shrewd means, like, I don't know if that's the word, but they're very strict. The principles are the principles. This is the interest rate, this is the policy, this is the process. Deal with it. And we've been in places where people are trying to negotiate, and someone will be like, that rate is too high. Kiniko. And now, one particular time, I vehemently responded to the person and said, that is why they deserve to be the lenders. Because they have the right. They are the only ones that have earned the right to be shrewd. So because they are shrewd, they've earned the right. My father's friend, no disrespect to some of them, I found out years later that some of the banks that, not him now, that they ran down because they ran it like church. So, forgive them, widows, no disrespect to widows, but they all that, everything, children of God. Of course, we're supposed to care for the widows. Let me quickly balance that. But where I'm going is, at the end of the day, the banks folded. But that principle of shrewdness, I've always marveled at it, and I've always wanted to ask you, because when you start it, it's carried and preserved wealth. Tell me a little about it, and tie it to this scripture of the children of this world are wiser than children of light. Not in the sense to mock our light, definitely not. We are light. But connect the two and explain the context, in this context, what it is for a child of God in this dispensation to be shrewd.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll add something to what I said the other time. And to the first question you asked me. And it's the power of long-term thinking. At my birthday, I remember Mariah speaking about a principle of compounding interest. And it's still the same principle of thinking the long term. I believe that you can almost accomplish anything if you are able to stay long enough on that thing. So there's also the power of you saying, I want to start this thing, and I want to start this thing on time. Because you realize that there's learning curve. So the same way you're approaching life, the same way you're going to discover that you're building your career, there's the learning curve of your career. So if you also want to make an impact, there's also the learning curve. So you're not just going to think the power that, I'm just going to get into that space, and in 1 year, I'm just going to be able to make all the difference in the world. So that's very important. Now takes me to your question now. And it's about running life with a framework. And this is where I want to start. One of the issues I've seen in the church is that a lot of us don't have a framework with which we do life. You have to have a framework. See, your framework does not need to be right or wrong. It's important that I first start with a framework. What you need to do over the course of your life is to improve on your framework. That is why if you know Sola Adeyinka, whether you know him in church, in office, in school, I want you to be able to say, this is this guy. What he will not do, he will not do. What he will not accept, he is shrewd, he is this, he is that. That's my framework. I'm not telling you my framework is always right. No. But I'm telling you, and why? Because I want to spend my time to improve my framework. And I've come to realize that when you have a framework, you are going to actually achieve a lot in life. In fact, there's this funny adage that says that and a framework is around consistency. It's about consistency. You've seen anything that says even a clock that does not have battery will be right twice in a day. At least that time where it is. If it's you put it on 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock will come and meet it. 12 noon will meet it. And 12 a.m. will meet it. And that's the place of having a framework. So if you have a framework with which you do life, it simplifies a lot of things. And that's also the way our minds are built as humans. Our mind wants to relate to what it has seen before. Do you understand? The truth is that when you seen something before, you are not really seeing with your eyes. You are seeing with your mind. Remember that. What you've never seen before, when you see it, you don't know what it is. It is until a register is on your mind. Then when you see it again, you reference and I'm like, okay, I've seen. The reason why you know this is, let's say this is a glass, is because you have seen a glass before. There was one day somebody told you, this is a glass, and then your memory stored it. So every time you see glass, your mind references it. So start with building a framework. Telling yourself, this is how I will make my decisions. So your decisions are not complex. It's very easy. You know, when I set a framework of being fit, building a lifestyle of fitness, the moment I set that framework, it is easy for me to take decisions from that framework. So that's what I want to encourage you to do. Look at your life today. Build a framework. For me, I'll tell you a number of things I've now built into my framework. First thing I built into my framework, those are the things my wife was sharing that day, is delayed gratification. To understand that, see, one of the things on my framework is I'm going to delay gratification. I'm going to pay now and play later. Because I realize that if I don't do that, it's the opposite that will happen to me. I will play now, and then I will have to pay later. And I've also realized that it is always easier to pay early. I have some professional exams I wrote when I was on campus, when I was a young professional. It was so easy for me to do. I didn't have so many responsibilities. So it was easy for me to say, I'm going to do it. And also, because I was just starting my career, I had a lot of years to also benefit from the certificate. It's like understanding this thing to say, if you have a certification and you have 30 years before you, you are going to derive more value than if you have 10 years before you. Imagine if you are in your 40s, and I'm not talking down anybody because there might be someone in the house like that. You are in your 40s and you're writing your ICANN. You are going to use it for some years. That's the reason why you are writing and you are stressing yourself. But I have an ICANN certificate. I don't even know where the ICANN certificate is. You know why? Because I finished using it. So it's somewhere. If you would say by all means, I must bring it out. Maybe if I look for it for one day, I will find it. You understand? But I've used it. So I've now moved away from the point where I need it. I've used it. I've used it to gain other privileges. That it is those privileges that I now need. Those are the privileges that are now important to me. It's no longer the certificate. So if I get to anywhere today, I don't know anything I need in my life that would say, Shola, go and bring your ICANN certificate. Probably maybe I need something from the regulator. Maybe CBN and stuff. They just want to tick the box, or maybe they want to make me a minister. You know, at that point, they just want to be sure you need something. But what I need for my everyday life, it's no longer important. So start with a framework and realize that if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Over time, see, everybody will want you to swing to the way they want to approach life. But the moment people can clearly see that this is how this person is going to approach life, with time, everybody will align to it. In fact, people will say, that's how he is and all that. But people just tell them that, see, don't waste your time. That's how that person is. He's not going to change his mind. So you better quickly align. So you are going to get more results. And then people would, maybe I think with time, people will begin to forgive you. Because you're just going to say, see, he's set in his ways. That's the way it's going to be and all of that. So I think that's what a lot of us needs to do. If you are running a business, you have to have a framework with which you run your business. Your career, there must be a framework. It can't be. And now, let me tell you this. Why is it important to have a framework? Because God that we serve has a framework. You know, a lot of us love to think that God is haphazard. Like, he does this today, he does this tomorrow. It's just, he just does as he wishes. It's not true. It's not true. Think about it. Since the day you were born, how many days did you wake up? And when it should be morning, it was night. Think about it now. How many years when it should be rainy season is no longer, is now cold? There's consistency. And when you look at God's creation, you can have a mindset of who God is. So this is our concept of miracles. I just want God to do this for me. I've not read for my exam, but I think I can go to God and depend on him and stuff. Make us to feel like, God can just do anything anyhow. No. God is actually structured. When you read the Bible very well, you can see patterns. This is how God is going to do this. Yes, there's that room for grace and all of that, but that is not the norm. That is not the modus operandi of God. So you see that God is actually structured. And the people of the world have come to understand this thing more than us, which is what we are talking about. They've come to understand that, see, if I want to excel in my career, there's this effort I need to put into it. When I was in secondary school, I did some bit of church in secondary school. And I had a guy in my class who was not a Christian. It was all these interesting sects, but he was not a Christian. But he was always the first position from GSS1 to SS3. The guy went to Ife. He finished with a first class with all the other Christians in Ife. Why? Because, and I tell people, because that guy made me to understand something. There is a principle behind being the best in your class. And let's not deceive ourselves. That principle is not by sowing seed. I'm serious. Then don't let's get it twisted. Because that's why we think God, like, okay, I didn't read, but if I sow a seed, it's going to make up for it. It's not going to. There's a principle. This thing is just simple. And you have to understand, and the people of the world, they understand it. They understand that this is what I need to do to move forward. Although I will tell you what they do wrong. What they do wrong is that is not to the glory of God. And as Christians, there's one of my framework as a believer is that everything I am is to one hand to give glory to God. So I'm not trying to become successful to glorify myself. I've come to that understanding that the whole essence of my being. So even when you come and you say you want to take loan and you don't have collateral and I'm not giving to you, that might know is to the glory of God. No, seriously, it's to the, because this is the legacy. I want to build this. This is what I want to build. And I want this thing to give glory to God. So it must be structured. So you cannot guilt trip me by saying, and you are a Christian. And you are seeing this happen to me. I'm looking at you, I'm like, yeah, in fact, it's the fact that I'm a Christian that is making me stand on this point, that I'm not going to break the principle. This is what I'm going to do. So people of the world know that, okay, there's nothing. This is what I need to put in. This is the effort I need to put in. So they go in and put in that effort. While a lot of us as Christians feel like, oh, there's something that God will just break all the principles and give to us. I think no.
Hallelujah. All right. So sorry. Please, I need help with this mic. Thank you, Shola. Shola, so there's some important things you've said now, and that's going to lead me to my second to the last question before I now open it to the public, and then I'll come back. And just to keep us stay tuned, there are two things we're going to be discussing. Two areas, two sections. So we're kind of done with him. We're moving to the topic, Nigeria's economy, and I'm going to be asking questions around how, because he made a point. There's a principle of savings, investments, and so on that has produced wealth. Let me give people context. Shola, we started a career together. You were in KPMG, I was in CUC. I remember the few times I met you, you came in that Uber Corolla, that 2003. I was driving 2007, 2008. I'm not trying to, I'm yielding myself, don't worry. And unfortunately, I didn't know you enough to know that I wasn't delaying gratification. Thank you, sir. Thank you. You can have this one. All right, I didn't know I wasn't delaying gratification. And don't worry, I'll bail the cat. It's okay. I'll take the heat. It's part of the job. You have to be on the firing squad so that people can listen. But anyway, here's the thing. You drove that car for a while. I remember when you still drove it. I know when you now bought your Camry. So when you're saying delayed gratification as a principle, which is another word probably using for framework, I picked it. You lived in Beggar. Your rent was less than $1 million. I remember very well. And it was so easy that when it was time to pay it, you could expense it like Ibano shopping. But you were still living in Beggar. And then suddenly, At a point, I was like, I was like, calm down. From Rolex to ML to banana, I'm like, oh, God. So that explains the, like, catapult. He pulled you. And now we're saying, slow down, slow down. But seriously, and you're not telling me I should. Anyway, but here's the point. This principle, and that's one side. But the second thing is this principle that you explain about this guy from this sect that is doing, they're killing people in Jos. I mean, you guys here are not, maybe not in this church, but other places are just, the Southwest is going on. My help was, she was just wailing outside. Not wailing, but her making noise. Why are you making? She said, they're sending me pictures. There's an economic challenge that it limits us. You launched your foundation. I'm going somewhere. You launched your foundation, and I saw your priority areas. Education. I was just looking in my mind. So in my mind, Tarfa, you want to influence the direction. But the question is, he has the money. He can choose to sponsor 10,000, give $10,000 to 3 entrepreneurs or 10 entrepreneurs to do their business. There's a position you can take and get things done because you have the resources. So, question. There are people in this room, and I've started, who are like, they're not up to 30. So they're at that point where you delay gratification. You need to give them advice on how you meandered it, because Sola, you were deliberate. Initially, I thought it was some miracle, but honestly, you were deliberate. And you need to talk about those deliberateness. You can't just jump from Beggar, 2003 Corolla to bang. There was some. Then secondly, the ones that are 40 that didn't start early, what are their options? Because you understand the financial market. Now I'm talking about how can we make wealth. Obviously, it's to the glory of God. I want to speak in plain English. 1, 2, 3, considering realities. I know we've had a conversation about Forex, Nigerian economy, and the challenges we're watching the presidency. We'll come to that, which is the third thing, the second thing. But primarily, what is the plan? This direction to break through financially through these principles so that people can live up to the glory of God for that, with that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let me talk a bit more about delayed gratification. And you have to be very, especially, and this is actually more relevant to people if you are in your 20s. I think it's easier. I would advise you to listen more because it's going to impact you more. Because some of those things are real sacrifices. And when you're making those sacrifices, it's easier. First principle that helps me when it comes to delayed gratification, which I was able to, teach my wife. Because when you want to go on a journey of delayed gratification, your spouse must be on board with you. I can tell you that for free. If your spouse is not on board with you, you are in trouble. So I tell people first, and these things are deliberate. What's the first thing if you are not, so that's why I say you are in your 20s. First, understand that the person you marry is one of the most important financial decisions you will make. Simple as ABC. I wrote this thing in Facebook, maybe before I got married. Somebody thought I was a lady. Say, yeah, lady, that's right. No, I said, no, I am a guy. And I'm telling you, that one of the most important financial decisions you're going to make is your spouse. Because you're going to build with your spouse. So if your spouse sees what you are doing as impossible, forget it. The work will be tougher. So look at who you are getting married to. Be able to be sure that the person can align with your financial dreams. Because when you are making these decisions, so to put it in context, I was working on a job. I was working in an oil and gas company. I was earning 1.5 million naira per month. And my house rent for a year is 500,000. So understand the context. That's what he's trying to say. So you need to have a spouse who gets it. And you also need to sell trust to the spouse. There are a number of things. If I tell my wife today that delayed gratification, she will get it. If I tell her, we don't need to have, we can afford that thing now, but don't let us buy it. Because she has been with me for, it's going to be 12, we are 12 years this year. So there's a way she can see, like, at least this guy, the thing this guy has told me, year 1, I've seen it happen. Year 2, I've seen it. So now it's easier. But remember that it's not going to be that easy then. So you are going to have to tell yourself, see, let me start early. For those of you that have the opportunity to start early, look at what is priority. Make it an objective that your objective is not to appear rich. In this part of the world, we have this Buga effect too much. There is a way of keeping up with the Joneses. You have to understand that I can never look at
Emmanuel right now, I feel like, and we started our careers together. So we started our careers together. Do I know your family? Do I know whether you are the one, whether you have 12 siblings and you are the one taking care of them, or whether your father left you billions of dollars, left you inheritance? I don't know. So first and foremost, in my head, there's nothing like that. I don't have any mates. I don't have any mate in the world, as you see me so, because I don't know your realities. You understand? I don't know your realities. You could have gotten one massive inheritance. So I now resume at all these consulting guys come that they are paying us 110, 105. You are now doing things, I'm copying you. So if I decide to bring food so for example, I tell you things I did that a lot of people thought was impossible. Then I will bring my lunch from the house because I don't want to buy food during lunch because I don't want to spend that money. So I can't look at my colleague who is going to the lunch place. I served in Accenture. Who is going to, we're in Citibank building. Citibank building, you know Citibank building now on Kofa Bayomi. So we had one foyer like that where they were selling some interesting, expensive food. I say, me. Out of my, and I was a privileged copper. I was a copper that was earning about 75,000 naira per month. This is 2009. I'm sure there are coppers today that are not earning it. You understand? But I still felt, okay, now that I have this privilege, it's the privilege of an head start. I don't need to compromise it, so I'll bring my food from the house. You know, I see a lot of young people today, and I'm telling you, see, that's what I say, are you ready to hear the truth? I see a lot of young people today. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with taking ride-hailing apps, Uber, Bolt. But if you cannot afford it, you can't run your life on it. Because sometimes, I order rides for people and I'm like, so all these young people that they're just taking Uber around town, this is what they are spending. I'm like, please, how much are they earning? I'm being real with you guys. I'm looking at your income and I'm like, you have to be real with yourself. This you only live once thing. You only live once, but there's time. you only live once, except you are planning to die early. In fact, I remember those days when I started out in life. I told people that care to listen. I said, this thing I'm practicing, the only way to not pay me is if I don't live long. That's the only way. But if I live long, it will pay me. Because that's the only way you can tell me that. And the chances that, let's be honest with ourselves, the chances that you're going to live long is very high. You are people of faith, you are confessing. So except you don't believe your confession. So you can't be opening your mind confessing with long life, you have satisfied me, yeah, and you show me salvation. You are doing everything. And you are saying you only live once. Which only live once? And you're in your 20s. So you have to be real with yourself to say, if I cannot, and you have to define what is your affordability. If I cannot afford this, so like you said, so then a Corolla, today the Corolla, they now sell that Corolla for almost 4 million. The Corolla then was like 1.2 million. So I was driving a car that I could buy every blessed month. But you know what? I told myself something, and maybe that's also the power of having a goal. I always told myself I didn't want to work for so long. In fact, from the first day I was resuming paid employment, I already knew, because before I started work, I already was running a business. So I shut down my business to go and start work. So there was this thing in me to say, I'm starting this work because I can go back to the business. So I told myself when I was going to go and work, I want to work for 5 years. So my realities and the next person to me in the office was different. You have 35 years you want to use to work. Me, I have 5 years. So I understood that I need to learn in 5 years what you will learn in 15 years. So the kind of decisions I made was different. So nobody needed to tell me, Shola, stay in the office till 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock or 10 p.m. In my head, I'm like, you that you want to run home. Maybe you want to be here for 15 more years. You have time. And also, you remember what I told you? You don't have a mate. You don't have, if you can clear it in your mind, it will make your life very simple. So I realized because I don't know. You have your own plan. Maybe your own plan is even to live in 2 years. Maybe you already know that your father has house in Banana Island and they're going to wait to you. Me, my parents, it's Jushaga, Okearo. You know that place. It's not Lagos. It's just that you pass through Lagos before you get there. It's Ogun State. It's for local government. You understand? I know that that's where my parents are living. So I can't. So you have to be able to say, this is what I want. So I understand long-term thinking. That also will set in. Because if you are young and you don't have long-term thinking effect, you're going to miss a lot of opportunities. I'll give you an instance. See, there's some relationships you should be investing in today that you are not going to really necessarily need until the next 10 years, 20 years. But it will come in handy for you. At my birthday, I'll give you examples. At my birthday, the national senior partner of KPMG was seated for how many hours? I worked with him. The last year I worked with him was 2013, 10 years ago. But the memory of how Sola works will not leave him. In fact, it was my goal then when I went to work that anybody I work for, it was my dream that the day I say I want to resign, you will not be happy. Because it's intentional, so you have to work extra hard because you were interested in the brand that you were going to live. I see Christians today who are trusting God for favor, but I say, wait, when you say God should favor you, is it that you don't understand that favor, there's a pattern you need to follow favor. If you are good, if you go the extra mile, if you take up all the responsibility available, are you not going to be favored? So you think that favor is you just come, Pastor Emmanuel will just lead you, oh yeah, I am favored this week. I confess it too. But after I've said I'm favored this week, I'll go out there and say, how can I go the extra mile for my colleague at work? How can I stretch myself such that I'll be favored? So in summarizing, in closing that question, what we need is we need to start for those that are young, long-term thinking. Be very intentional. Please tell your neighbor, you are nobody's mate. You are nobody's mate. So make your decisions, live life on your own terms. That's another framework I operate life with. I live life on my own terms. Like if I want to do this thing. And as I've grown older, I've realized that I'm also living life on my own terms. Because there are things you might feel like people of my age. And that's also the philosophy why I'm starting a foundation. I'm living life on my own terms. The same way when I was earning 1.5 and I was living in a house of 500. In fact, let me shock you. When I was living in the house, I moved to Ikoyi. When I told my landlord, I said I'm leaving. And I was going to go and rent another house. But I built a house. So I built a house in Bega. So everybody felt when I said I was moving, the landlord thought I was moving into my house. So I told him, no, I'm going to sell the house and I'm going to go and rent a house in Ikoyi. And he was like, I don't get. You are living Bega. You are good. I said, yes. Live life on your own terms. So there are some things you have defined for myself. And once I achieve it, and that's it. So that you also don't, I will now tell you how to protect yourself, because when you are doing delayed gratification, you can get weary. Because you are human. You are like, all this wahala, all this stress we are going through. So have what you use to compensate yourself. Put the compensating factors there. Tell yourself, once I achieve this milestone, I will do this for myself. So that you don't get too weary. When you get there, you say, okay, this is the reward of this thing. Let's run again. You understand? So it's important. Now, for those that are old, which is another question you asked me, say, okay, now let's say I'm in my 40s. I've made wrong decisions. I feel like, let me tell you the first thing you have to understand. The greatest advantage you have is still time. So what you need to do is to say, just humble yourself. And tell yourself, these are the things I should have done in my 20s or 30s. I begin to do it now. It's going to be tougher. You know why? Now school fees are there. It's there. You know this principle I was telling you, when I was practicing some of them, there was no school fees. It was just me and my wife. I just needed to convince one woman. Now, I have to convince Morire. I have to convince Fikemi. I have to convince Praise. I have 3 wonderful nations. So you have to understand that. Then you have to make the sacrifice. You have to tell yourself, I'm going to start. You cannot live life and you don't have, no matter how hard, you don't have something you can say, after I've worked, this is something I've put aside. You must save. And I'll tell you this in my own experience, which I've always told people. Your saving is not what is going to make, you can't make it with your savings. In this Lagos, if it's Akure, sorry for those living in Akure, but if it's Akure you are living or somewhere, probably your savings can make it. And I'll give you examples. You know, when I started my career, my first job after NYSC, my office was on Gerard Road. After, I served in Accenture, then I went to work for KPMG. My office was on KPMG used to be on Gerard Road before they moved to Aboyadeko. I know Gerard Road now, Ikoyi. I used to see all those, those ice story. I used to look at them when I was going to work those days. Very early in the morning. Sometimes I get to work before 6. And it was always funny because when you are walking, sometimes they will drop the cab you take. They will drop you around that, that deputy governor's, that roundabout at the end of the game. So when you are walking, it was always interesting to me. You know why? When I look up, I see all those houses, all those tall towers. You realize that the people in those houses are still sleeping. So it was always very interesting to me, like, one day, me too, I will be coming to work, as if I will be sleeping and people will be going to work. I had that funny thought in my head. Then I used to tell my colleagues one funny thing. I used to tell them that, sure, that if we work in this place for 30 years, we may not be able to afford this house. And it's the truth. If you go and, maybe some of you need to go and check the price of houses in Ikoyi, so you understand. Like, if we work for 30 years, we will not be able to buy this house. So that taught me one lesson. It taught me that if indeed I'm a Christian, then how I'm going to apply my Christianity must be different. I must be able to put in the work, but I cannot trust in my work only. You have to still trust in the grace of God. You have to trust in quantum leaps. And there's a way you have to understand it. So I'm also teaching you to trust in your savings. So don't think what I'm telling you is, I'm saved. Yes, but you must save. And I'll tell you why. Because if you don't save, you are not in faith for financial prosperity. Show me anybody, if you're in this place, you don't have savings. Sola Adeyinka said, you are not in faith for financial prosperity. You are not. You know why? Scriptures that you believe in says that he who is faithful in little. So, if you are not faithful in little, no matter how, it's not, you have to understand scriptures, because this mindset we all have to say it's because the salary is not enough is a lie. That's why you will see drivers, a lot of you are here, you work in offices. The drivers in your offices have houses. You know why? Those drivers, the work they have right now is their miracle. To them, they don't believe something better is still coming. So they're like, this opportunity I have today, I have to use it. But you're a young professional. I say, what are you talking about? The better days are still coming. Leave me alone. The better, and I understand. And you are very correct. The better days are still coming. But you must understand that if you don't build some things into yourself today, you will never build it, even when you have a lot.
So Shola, sorry, I have to cut you in because I have to. Please, you can put your hands to. Now, I deliberately left you to keep going on because I wanted you to fix a mindset, even though you hit the points at some point, and then now I have to open the floor now because so I'll take questions and I'll come back to the issue of the church because we discussed it offline. I didn't know you're a radical like me, even though we're all members of the establishment. The establishment. But we have a view about Nigeria and the church and how we must really do more. We'll come back to that. I'll start gathering questions. If you want, you can raise your hand and then I'll take questions. But before then, just in 1 minute, Shola, 1 minute. I need I believe in that breakthrough thing too. I agree with you. And I totally do. But the options for for financial prosperity, obviously we're still going to do proper investment, equities, but any ideas, any hacks, any principles around for the 20s and for the 40s to really multiply wealth? Because what you didn't tell us here is that by the time you started your career, at that time, through your business on campus, saving your pocket money and all that, you already had ₦1 million hard cash. I know, but the wisdom you read in the books told you to first put that aside, which is one wisdom that somebody else gave me because I was running a business in campus. He said, Emmanuel, leave this thing. Go and look for work. Because I was looking at Dangote, you never work for anybody. No, it's not like that. So, Shola, the 1, 2, 3, where do people play around? Do they do a wealth manager? Should they bring it to Vail? What should they do to begin? Because some of us are too busy with our work that we don't have the competencies to invest in. But you took it and made wealth out of it.
Okay, I'll share 3 things. So let me put it as 3. If it's more than that, I would. But so that I can move fast. First thing, you must focus on skill acquisition. You must focus on building skills that will help you earn more decent income. Very important.
Very good.
So you must quickly look at what you're doing today. You're on a job, your salary is 200,000. You must tell yourself, what do I do to get into the 400 range? What do I do to get into the 500, the 1 million, the 2 million? What do I need to do? Skill acquisition. Very, very important. Is it a professional exam? You want to think about it. Let me write professional exam. Relationship building, critical. Everybody you meet in any work you're doing. Basically, what I'm doing that can help you earn better salaries today. Skill acquisition, building relationships. Very critical. Because referrals, that's why you now see the power of referrals. People will say, this opportunity exists. In fact, this is dollars they are paying. Somebody refers you. Focus on that. So, earning better. Second thing is now developing a lot of knowledge. What would I say? Read a lot of books on financial literacy. Because every day as you move in life, see, what makes you to make it in life is everyday decisions. So you are working. There's an opportunity to buy this or buy this. It's your level of financial literacy that makes you make a better financial decision. And I can take 2 steps back and show you, pick 2 examples of decisions I did in the past, and how they both, maybe one turned out to move me so much ahead, and the other way. Let me give you an example. In 2016, I wanted to build a house. All the money I put together, I wanted to build a house. And as I was about to build the house, and I also teach you something here because this is church. In fact, let me shock you. I sowed a seed to build the house. I want to show you how Christians can be locked in their way. Because I wanted to start building a house. I put together all the money I put together, and I said I wanted to build the house. So my senior pastor's wife came to Lagos. Then I was like, you know this thing now. You want to build the house. You're like, let me sow a seed. I sowed the seed. In fact, the architect had drawn the plan of the house and everything. They had mapped to start the digging. And then God told me, because you also have to understand that in this you still have to say, God told me, Shola, don't build a house. You know why? Remember, I think it was 2014. It was 2014 because I was just clocking 30. So you know how those dreams in life, I want to build my first house before 30. So I had that dream too. You know those dreams. And God said, no, Shola, don't build. I said, okay, no problem. I struggled. But for some reasons, that's another prayer. There's some prayer you pray, say, God, decisions that will move me forward in life, don't let me be disobedient. Let me just obey you. So I didn't. And then I said, what next am I going to do? Then God led me at that point to invest in Forex. When I say Forex, it's not trading. I've never traded in my life. It's buy dollar. This dollar that everybody, you remember 2015, that was when dollar started going up. And I used all my money, I bought dollars. Everybody that could see, I collected money, I bought dollars. Dollar moved from less than 200, moved to like 500. When it got to almost 500, I sold all my dollars. Dollars crashed. I kept my naira. Same again, I bought. I'm not kidding you. And I'm going to give you why I'm trying to get to a point. By the time I started buying and selling dollars, between 2015 and 2018, I made so much money. Also, there was also an opportunity in the market. There was a period of significant naira devaluation. I made so much money that house I was meant to build 3, I now built it. But by the time I was now finishing the house, while I was building the house, I kid you not, I bought another property in Yaba. The house, the money I wanted to use to build a house, that money I multiplied so that I now built the house. While I was building it, now you are building a house, you now bought a land. You know what that means? Like, you're just like, so why I'm getting to somewhere because it's decisions, what it takes to be financially prosperous is daily decisions. Because, do you know why? A lot of people think making money is the hardest. It's not true. Preserving wealth is harder than making money. Because there are a lot of things that can happen to you that can make money. Tell me, you've made it. But preserving it, in fact, if you make money, that's why a lot of people that make money lose it. Why? Because they don't have the financial acumen. They don't have the knowledge to preserve it. And that's why I go to the second point. My first point is skill acquisition. My second point is financial literacy. In fact, I've seen people that have told me, Shola, I have 100,000. I used to do it for people. I've stopped doing it because people feel it's pride. You come and say, I have 100,000, I want to invest. I look at it and say, go and buy books. I tell people then, but people say it's arrogant, so I stop telling. But let me just say it now, since you are not asking me, I'm the one telling you. If you have money that is not enough, go and use it to do these two things. Improve your skill and improve your brain. It will always pay off. Because you know what? When you build financial literacy, financial knowledge, there's this funny saying that says that the man that has experience, when it means the man that has money, the man that has experience will live with the money. The man that has the money will live with the experience, but his money will have left him. You understand? So you have to understand that. So focus on a lot of financial literacy, what I need to know. I think the third thing I would say is, in this economy, you must focus on value creation. You must understand how the economy runs. So as little as possible, I want to advise you, if you can look for a small course on the economy. Look at what has happened to us between 2020 and 2024. In the last 4 years, we have had significant wealth depreciation. So let me explain to you so that you understand it. If in 2020, you had 100 million naira, your 100 million naira in 2020, I need someone to do the calculation for me, divided by 360, what could that have been? So in 2020, January of 2020, you started the year, you had 100 million naira. Mm-hmm. Your 100 million naira, dollar was 360. So that means you had $277,000. If in 2020...
$27,000.
No.
$277,000.
$277,000. If in 2020, you bought dollars with that money, and you invested it, let's even say you didn't even invest it, you didn't even put it in any productive investment, you just kept it. And today, you have the same dollars. The people said dollar have crossed 1,000 for Abi. That's what people said. I don't know. So today, you have 388 million. So the same person that...
For doing nothing.
So the same person that had 100 million in 2020, you don't have the financial literacy to understand how the Nigerian economy runs. You've kept your money in that. Another person that knows in fact, you know what it means? It means that if I actually borrowed 100 million from you today, assuming it was at no interest, I'll be able to give you back your 100 million and I have 28 million. I even have more money than you. Yeah, I know that by the time you factor interest rates, it might not be that straightforward and all of that. But what I'm trying to tell you is that you must understand the economy. And you must understand how the economy is trending. Because if you don't, and I want to tell you a lot of young people that are staying back. I love people staying back because I'm also staying back.
Tell us.
But you must be wise. Because if you are not wise, you're staying back. You need to be financially empowered. And you must be able to see how is this economy trending. In an economy that is see, there are some things you must be able to understand. You must be able to look at trends. And if you can't do it yourself, you must find a financial partner that can do it for you. The stock market. There are some ways that, and there are some things that with time, it's easy when I come and tell you, I've given an example of things God told me. I'll give you another example. When the new government entered, I told people, some people will say I did not tell them, but at least I told people around me, I said, the stock market is going to rally. Why is stock market going to rally? There are some fundamentals you're going to look at. Number one, Nigeria's stock market is not deep. Have you heard of any new company that was listed in the last 1 year or 2 years? In fact, you have seen companies that got delisted. So the Nigerian stock market is not deep. You have the pension funds. The PFAs will every month when you work on your job and they take your pension out, that money, part of it has to go to the stock market. Yeah. Part of it has to go to commercial part. So there's a pile of money climbing, and those pile of money must find its place into somewhere. So I told people, now, of course, because a new government is coming, of course, people already know, okay, maybe some of this devaluation will happen and all of that. Once the market gets to that point, everybody knows the final rates. Maybe I don't know when we are done with all this madness, dollar will settle at around 1,000. So you are telling me that GTB, that in 2008 was selling for 62 naira per share, that same GTB in 2023, dollar is almost 1,000. Then dollar was less than 120. Oh. Now dollar is 1,000. That same GTB is now 23 naira. It's significantly undervalued. Now foreign investors don't want to come, but you know that what any new government will do is they are going to woo foreign investors. If you also look at precedents of, this is a this is the precedence of this government. This is the kind of thing this government has done in the past. They're going to go ahead and woo investors. So there's going to be a rebound. So I told people, my investment committee said I did not get their permission, but at least I'm the CEO. So we bought. We bought MTN, we bought Dangote, we bought. And then the rally started. And then I'm like, that's it. So you have to understand, so you have to really focus your energy and say, how do I gain some of this knowledge? Fourth thing I've thought about understanding the market. Because if you don't understand the market, the opportunities can flow out and you will not see it. And that's the other place of maybe relationship building too. So you have people that can tell you, okay, this is how we are looking at this economy. These are the opportunities that you need to. But there was the fourth thing I want to tell you. If you're in this economy and you can start a business, you have what it takes to start a business. Please start one. Because there's significant opportunity to create value in running a business. Because in running a business, remember that what you are doing, and a business is not the same as side hustle. I'm not talking about side hustle.
Yeah.
A business is what brings together forces of, we call it, what's that we call it? Factors of production. Bringing people, capital, intellectual capacity, everything come together and create value. Because, number one, you see that there's a lot of unemployment. You are going to get people employed. You are going to create value. You're going to create significant value because people need to be able to say, okay, how do I use my intellect? You can create shared prosperity from it. So if you start a business and instead of just getting yourself a job, you have employed 5 people, 10 people, 20 people. You've created more. And even when you are tired, you have other people who will carry your weight on that day. You know, there are days you're just like, I'm really stressed. But you look at your other co-workers, your other employees, they at that time, they're bubbling. So a business will help. A business can help you adjust for inflation quickly. If you run a business, if, for example, even a side hustle, if you're an hairdresser, they tell you go to the market yesterday, they say Gary is more expensive. Say, okay, no wala. The next customer that comes, you say, Oga, it's 1,000 I used to do this hair. But when I went to the market yesterday, Gary that I used to buy for 1,000 is now 1,500. Me too. This hair is 1,500. So you can pass down the cost. And there's nothing wrong with it. That's how life has to be. But when you are in a place where you cannot adjust for inflation, you get poorer. And that's what has happened over the last 3 years. Because let's be honest with ourselves, there is hardly any employer, even Chevron, cannot have increased salary with the kind of inflation we have seen in the last 4 years in Nigeria. I'm yet to see any employer. The only employers that have done it is if they are paying you in foreign currency. But if they are paying you in naira, even if you work for the baptizing church or you work, they cannot.
Are you sure?
I'm sure they can. I'm serious.
That's not good there. That's not good there.
It's not because what I'm trying to make you understand is that nobody, because that's not the intent.
Yeah.
It's tough. But if you run a business, there's a way you can look at it and like, this is what I can do to my business. I can enhance my service. I can decide to improve what I'm offering. I can decide to say, okay, let me move from the bottom of the pyramid to the creme de la creme of my market. I can say, let me move to luxury product. You can begin to re-strategize your business and begin to say, okay, how? It may be tough, but at the end of the day, the rewards can be extremely decent. So I want to encourage you to do those. So I talked about the 4 things. Let me just recap it. Skill acquisition, very importantly. Educate yourself, professional exams. Make yourself more valuable.
Fantastic.
Relationships. Build relationships. Read financial literacy. Get financial. Be able to read NESG released microeconomic report. Read it. It's 68 pages. But you know the work that is people spend hours watching series already. The hours you spend on Instagram, if you spend it, I'm telling you, you can be very busy and something I will shock you. Do you know it was 2 days after I heard last weekend was very interesting in the Nigeria. They said Moses Bees got engaged. They said Kule Remi got married. My wife was one telling me who Kule Remi is. I don't know the person. My wife said, you don't know him? I don't know him. After all the other things I have to do in my life, what's my own with who is getting married? Let them be reading about me too. Let me make it so that people will be reading about me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hallelujah. Please let's put our hands together. Now, let me say this before. Chachama, thank you. I mean, you can come forward. She has her first question. I think, first of all, side comment. You're not the one I envy in this room. I think the person I envy in this room is This young man here, he's 14, and he was laughing at your jokes. That means he was getting it. So I was very impressed. That's the one I envy. Nobody here is my mate. This is my mate.
I don't want to say you're lucky, but you're privileged.
Yes.
Because the greatest advantage you have is time. Time is powerful.
That's why all those old men want to marry young girls, probably. They want to extend their life. I mean, that's a joke. Please edit that out. I mean, I'm not saying that because I'm imagining at a point, I just did the math. I'm like, okay, maybe that's why. Anyway, now, by the way, just advertising, this thing is said, and I resonate with it totally, and I understand it, this point about business. And that's one of the things I'm going to be sharing at the coaching event we're having this weekend about how the employers or business owners, people that create value, because that's another problem. Especially those ones that do things intellectually, that can put a price on it. It's important, it's powerful. And I like the fact that you distinguish side hustle from. But the advice he gave us, in as much as he didn't go into details, you know what he did? He went to the highest level of abstraction on the issue, which is always my problem. I tell people that strategic thinking is not the tactical details of, okay, you buy this. It's that because I acquired a skill, my earning power was good, I read books. What he didn't tell you is that he used to sell books on campus. That was his business. He was a bookseller. He was a very successful bookseller to the point that he cashed out $1 million when he was leaving campus. And he now read those books. So when he said it on his Sunday, I was like, yay, that was it. Because when you read those kind of books, you can't help yourself but just be successful. One of my clients owns a large manufacturing factory in Ogun State. But this man, sir, I met him and his wife, very interesting couple. They were so poor that when they got married, they couldn't live in the same house. One had to live with her friend. So that's how poor they were. I'm not joking, no. You know, is it by force to marry? Let's leave that matter. But I'm serious. These guys bought the property they were living in. That's what they were squatting in. They bought the whole building. How did they do it? He was hawking books in Oshodi. From Molue to Molue. Hello. The man, and he read the books. So if you're sitting here and you read books, that's your ticket to process. And that thing he said answers any question that you can ask on financial whatever. So when he's talking about the dynamics of the economy, I'm trying to reemphasize the dynamics of the economy. He's saying that the economy then he looked at it was a transactional economy, and he played to that, and he cashed out. Sister Chiamaka, I'll take your question. And then the other people can come, and if you have a question, please come and sit here. This is our, I don't know what to use. She's our question lady. Okay. And I'm giving you a heads up.
Hello,
can she get a mic?
Hello.
So if you have questions, please come and sit where Fedako is so that you can come forward. You can use my mic.
All right, sorry. Just
Pastor ask question.
Yeah, yes, question. And clarification as well. So you already settled on one of the things. So as Shola was speaking, I thought about the fact that, and I was clarifying it when it was inside as well. You started out very young, your first business, campus, and all of that. But someone invested in the business, right? So first, what did you say to attract the investment? Where I'm going also is the fact that, there are a lot of people who just wait for handouts. So I am, even though it's not apples for apples, but I'm just using that, to create a context. To say that I know who invested in your business, right? So you speak to it. But you could have as well been taking the monthly stipends, right? Or give me this to back this dream, and this is what I'll deliver. I hope I'm not already answering the question. But in a sense, how do people come out of that just have to spend, and actually create something that can sustain you and also grow, right? What were the things you learned? Then also, you come out of all of that. The natural trajectory for anyone is to continue, right? Because it's not like, young, there's cash, continue to grow. Why quit that to go get a job? What was the mentality behind going to actually get a job at some junction in your growth? A job you didn't need to necessarily go and get. You are your own boss and you continue to move. Then, the third thing, um, is around career, right? Now, you said something about if you're young and you can, start a business and all of that. But we know it's not rocket science as well. Is there a balance to it? Because I can cite several examples of people who went as, let's say, entrepreneurs, and they're extremely wealthy today. And there are some who have not done anything aside, if you trace their prosperity, is actually attached to the fact that they were employees and they moved here, moved there. We all know what some people earn, as employees who are creating value within a business owned by shareholders. So that those who actually have a mentality that, look, this is my direction. I was listening to someone also recently, like, the motivation is different at that level. I'm not trying to go start something. I have a direction in terms of how my career would pan out and grow. And there are people who actually map. They're also very deliberate. Like an entrepreneur who's successful, there are people who are successful working within businesses who actually map out exactly how they want to move, career-wise, and have a goal of where they want to get to. And at that level, there's a lot of influence, there's a lot of leverage, to do other things. I don't know if you can speak to just these three things, Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. So the first one about, okay, what did I do to start?
How do you attract investment at that age? Or how did you attract, what story did you sell?
Okay, interestingly, the first money I attracted to build my business was not like I had to go and pitch. So it was my dad. Those of you that came for my events will have heard it. My dad was giving me 3,900, and I told people the story of how the 3,900. So just for your records, why 3,900? Because it's 3,900 per month. My allowance was 100 naira per day. After so much negotiation, my dad increased it to 130 naira per day. So 130 times 30 is 3,900. So I just said, okay, instead of just giving me 3,900, I know you're not going to give me anything more than this. Can you give it to me 2-3 months upfront? So just give it to me, so I'm going to have capital. So I didn't even tell him I was going to go and do business. I just told him, give it to me. I would, and remember also, those were the days where banking was not this sophisticated. Those days, if they send money to you from Lagos, 1 week, 2 weeks, you are still going to go and check in the bank. As it arrived, so you understand? So that was it. So I was just able to say, let me take this money and put it into this use. So for me, I didn't really necessarily say. And then after that, I got a scholarship. I got a Chevron scholarship. So because I got a Chevron scholarship, I was already running the business. It was already doing okay. So immediately I got the capital. I had something I was going to put it into. So I put a capital into the business. I was able to expand it. Now, what do you do to attract capital? Because I've now gone to work. I've seen how to attract money. First thing for me, I'll tell people, is, a lot of attract capital has to do with your integrity. There are people that will look at you and be like, this person's a person of integrity. Now, when you're attracting capital, don't think the first person. In fact, if you want to build a business, one of the things you must be ready for is to be ready to take rejection. In fact, there's this joke I tell people in my office. When people are talking about business development in my office, I'm like, how many people are in your lead? Once you tell me you have 3 people in your lead, I'll tell you are not serious. You are chasing 3 people to give you business. You will fail. You must have at least 50 people. So if anything I'm trying to sell, I have at least 50 people I'm chasing. So even if 45 people disappoint me, there will still be 5 people that will still get to it. So now in terms of why did I say, okay, let me leave what I'm doing to go and work? Honestly, I think I would say coincidence, but I'll tell you what I thought about that made me say, okay, let me go and do this. I was able to realize that, see, there's a place in your mental capacity. And as I tell people, the most important, the most potent form of education that I've seen in my life is mentorship. Because when somebody is mentoring you, they open your possibilities. So when you start a business, those days I was selling 500K worth of books every month. My profit margin was like 100,000 every month. So in my head, I felt, you guys are going to go and work in Lagos. It's the same amount of 100 or less than 100K they are giving you. Remember, this is 2008, 2009. Why should I go and join you? Luckily for me, I'm an interesting personality. Lucky for me, while I was running that business on campus, I studied engineering. I almost finished my ACCA to become a chartered accountant. So because I was already, so there were people like, Shola, you have to work, this. And then I went for the interviews. When I went for the interviews, I saw something I had not seen. I saw the way people carry themselves. I saw a place where there's something these guys have, I think I'm lacking. I'm willing to shut down this business to learn this thing. But I was not clear that I need to go and learn this thing for 5 years so that I can come back to this business. I ended up working in career world for 7 years. I did 2 years extra. The money was very sweet. And when the money is sweet, you know what I mean. You're like, let me chop small. Let me see it small. So basically, being able to see that, I cannot, even when you're doing business, you cannot think about business more than the possibilities of your mind, more than the depth of your relationships. So career will help you do that. It will give you depth of relationships, people that have work, people that can trust you. It will open the possibilities of your mind. You're able to say, it will give you structure because you have a pattern. There's a way you're like, when I was working this place, this is the way we used to do it and all of that. That's very important. Then what's the third one, sir? The third question. Yeah. So people that pursue career, and really, it's a very good part, but you must take your career as a business. I'm telling you, you must take your career as a business. You are investing in your career. You are looking at it and so for example, you can't be in an organization. You can see that this organization is going nowhere. You can say, what are you doing there? If you really see your career as a business, why you are somewhere where you are not being developed. I'll give you another example. So there are people that I worked in an oil and gas company, and when you personalize your career, the way you take your decisions will be different. So I worked in this oil and gas company, and they used to do foreign trainings. So they'll tell you that there's foreign training, and because there's foreign training, there's this thing called per diem. I'm sure those of you that work in the organization understand, like when you travel, like ESTA code. And the ESTA code, then I can't remember clearly, but it was like about $150 per day. So when it's time for training, people go for different trainings. And because there's ESTA code, people will say, my auntie is in Atlanta. They'll look for training in Atlanta. So what is driving the training they are looking for is where they have a relative, so that when they collect the ESTA code, they don't have to book hotel. They can stay with their uncle and make money and all of that. So everybody was entitled to 2 weeks training, foreign training. And the ESTA code is $180 per day. So 180 times 14. So when they told me that I just joined them, they told me there's foreign training. So I said, you cannot give me this kind of opportunity, I'll waste it. I told them I want to go to London Business School. The only problem was that the budget to go to London Business School will cover my 2 weeks training and it will be 1 week. That means I'm going to forfeit ESTA code for 1 week. People felt I was stupid. Like, you forfeit. Yes, now because people, I've seen people feel like, what's the big deal? So I said, I want to go to, so my manager said, well, the only way you can go to do London Business School because it's not all these online London Business School people are doing these days, it's London. We went to the London Business School. You start on that professor. You took picture with your classmates. You made them real life. So my manager told me, said, Shola, the only way you're going to do this is that you're going to forfeit instead of doing 2 weeks training. And remember, I'm telling you, this is not Shola of today, Shola of 2014. You understand? $180. Then a lot of money. Then you multiply it times 7. You forfeit it. And I forfeited it. Should I shock you? The next year, all price crashed. They stopped foreign training. So that was my only opportunity in that organization to go on foreign training. And I went to London Business School. I know the impact it made on my career. Because it's a bragging right. It's an exposure. So you must take your decisions differently. You must see your career. You must own it. You are not taking decisions like any other person. You're like, this thing is not advancing. So you get to that you know that you're an entrepreneur. You get to the office, people are gossiping. You're like, I don't have time for you guys because you are the ones that came here to gossip. Me, I know what I came here to do. You know what these gossip people are doing. When I was working, I won't spend time gossiping. When I get to work, I time my lunch time. I know my lunch time is 1 hour, but I know what I want to accomplish. I got it when I was working. I got a double promotion because I'm like, I'm not ready to. You guys show me that there's a faster path. You're like, if I do this, I will scale a whole position. As in, instead of becoming a semi-senior associate, I'll just move from experienced staff assistant to senior associate. Bring it on. So what is required? It means I work extra. So I put in extra. So I think I love that. I agree with you, Pastor Deji. What I'll just encourage is that you are very intentional, because there are also people, you can also look for people who you can see that this person knows what they are doing. You join their chariots. There are people that cannot start businesses. But you can look for someone that knows what they are doing. And you can say, okay, let me partner with this person and let me just join that. You must just be that intentional to continually look for opportunities. And of course, you also have to be spiritual because you're Christians. You have to follow. See, God wants us to be wealthy. So God will lead us aright. So if God is telling you this business, don't join it. I had opportunities, there are jobs opportunities I had that, Shola, don't go here. You know, so I'm not vocal. I have my positions, but don't think that there are some things that I will still tell you. I told you that who you marry is your most important decision, but God told me my wife. I was not just looking for the
one that saves money.
Space spray.
The one that saves money. I get you. Oh, yes, please let's put us together for. Oh, yeah, so I'll take two questions together. It's because Pastor spoke. I would have batched his question, but because Pastor, I gave him his own hands. But you are batched, no vex. I mean, how many of you are enjoying yourself tonight? You know, Shola, you're the kind of wisdom you're dishing. You know, sometimes I don't even know, and I don't want to flatter you. I invite him. I talk. No. Me, I know the wells is entering and what is pulling out. What he didn't tell you is that Shola, I like you. Shola, you know I like you because we share that value of competence. Shola was doing his boss's work. He made his boss useless. That was the gist. It was him I heard it from that pastor preached. He said, your boss, what's your work? I'll do it. So at some point, his boss was I do. At that point, who would you move into the position? How do you get a double promotion in consulting firm? You know what consultants are? They will mark you down. Like, who are you? I beg. You want to increase our wage bill? Anyway, that's not really the case. But yeah, two of you. Let's have you, sir.
Praise the Lord.
Yes, hallelujah.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the insights you shared. So, some comment before I ask my question. What you said about the career while making your employee your client. Yeah, I first come across it from this book, Business Secrets from the Bible. It's a very, very, and I recommend the book also. And secondly, just a passing comment. You remind me of the prodigal son. Collect your own inheritance, but you didn't lavish it. Which is good. So to my question, I just want to know, I do business, and I may not have the luxury, as you do, to say I'm closing my business to go do a career or get an employment. That's a closed door for me. It's a personal decision, so it's not something I want to. So, and I have intentions to grow the business. So my question is this: from your story, from your journey, I see where you started from, and I see where you are at now, and I know that the realities from where you started from, they are quite different from what you're experiencing now. My question is this: how do I prepare for that growth, that expansion? And when I'm in that expansion, or before I get into that expansion, what should I expect as per people, as per money? Because you mentioned something that to make wealth is very easy. I could win a lottery tomorrow, but how do I preserve that wealth? So how do I preserve that? How do I preserve the integrity of the business? Because in your journey also, you said something that this wasn't the Shola of now, or Shola of 2014, which means that you became a different person in the faces. So what do I, or who do I need to become to have that, that reality of the growth and expansion?
All right. Please, for permission, I'll batch the question because PC will have my head for dinner. So let me quickly tidy that up. You have 3 questions. No problem. Okay. That's why I told him about you. So no problem. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, thank you so much,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am.
Thank you for the opportunity, the privilege. It's been amazing being here. Okay, so the first thing I went to ask was about your framework. I was able to put a rough compilation from things that you said that makes a framework, long-term thinking, goals. But I just wanted to ask what the interplay was between the vision, like from what you said, right? You had a goal and you knew where you were taking your business and your life, and there's a Holy Spirit and all of that. But I just wanted to say, and I think I'm drawing from what Pastor also said, what's the interplay between building? Because now we're okay, let's just say practically, right? We're all going home and, Mr. Shola came and told us about a framework, and I want to start my framework. What's the interplay between building a framework and the vision of the person you're becoming, the vision that God is showing you, and, sorry, give me a minute. vision of the person you're becoming, how that works with your personality and the image of the person. So, because, I mean, there's an image that all of us, God said, He said, let us make mine our image, but all of us have our own inside God. There's a way that I reflect God that you will never reflect God, because you need to learn from me who God is in that dimension. And there's a way you reflect God, I will never reflect God as, right? So what's the interplay of the vision of, can you say that in your journey there was a vision of, I can hear it from what you're saying about your career, but how did the person you saw yourself becoming and the image of God you were to reflect impact on the frameworks? I know that you can't have a perfect framework now from what you're saying. It's going to improve. That's one. My second question is, I don't know, maybe this is personal, I'm not sure, but there's a tussle between flesh and spirit, and that's what has made a generation of 2-3 generations now. We have lazy Christians, and by the grace of God, we're hearing things like this. There's a louder clarion in this generation that is saying, you people have to wake up. You can't do what your ancestors did and forefathers did. That's what brought them to this point. And the tussle between spirit and flesh. So I've heard you talk, there's something I wrote that you said, the mixing of work and then quantum leaps in grace. So that's faith, right? From where you're saying, if I'm going to believe that I'm going to be wealthy, I have to, build a barn. But I'm just asking, I don't know if it says percentage. I'm too critical like that. I'm not too sure. But let me try and zero in on what I want to ask. When it comes to being led by the Spirit, like all of these things you've told us now, and you read books, and those are good. And if we look at, like you said, if we look at those wisdoms you've just laid out, they came from the Bible as well. But I'm wondering how spontaneous you're going to be as a believer, right? Because if you're going to read books and, like God told you, don't invest in this business, what is the room for spontaneity where your faith is allowed to, because sometimes you're not going to build a house and you're going to leave your father's house and go somewhere else, right? So how do you train your mind to not depend too much on flesh or bread where you cannot meet God anymore, and it's just, I have wisdom, right? And you leave God. That's one. And then my third question, which is very interesting, from what you were saying, I really love what you said about, being led by God to find a partner. Your biggest decision making when you're going to have finances is the person you marry. And I just wanted to ask, because I'm asking as a lady, not just because of the women, because we've heard this over time, women in the room, but just from your own personal experience in your marriage or your relationships, or if you've hired female employees, or over your years as an employer of labor, we've been told over and over again that men are natural, risk takers, right? I don't know if that's a part of your person that's, because the Bible says He made them male and female. I don't know if that's a part of men that reflects God, and there's something for us as women, or maybe society that just beat it out of women, right? So I just wanted to ask, in your experience as an employer of labor, in your marriage, what would you tell women? Customized advice for women. Because maybe men here are thinking, I have a business, I'm thinking about my children, I'm thinking about my legacy. I'm not saying women, we can't think that, but there's a conformity that many men get into, and I know what to do this now, I know. And I'm like, Jerry, the soup in the freezer. I'm not saying that we have to be like that, but I'm just saying, what would you tell women who have not tried this before, who is not their default dimension, it's not their default personality? By tomorrow morning, practically, so 3 things have already entered their list. It's not because, they don't have that kind of environment in their homes. It's just what has been for a while. What would you say to us as a customized, to having that conversation? Okay, where do I play in this? Not that I don't play in it though, just so that people are not resting on, and just in your personal relationships with the female folk, what have you seen that is the biggest problem for us to be risk takers? Thank you.
Thank you. I would like you to answer that.
Can I combine these two first, or else I'll forget?
No, that's it, of course.
Okay.
But I very want you to attack that woman on first.
Okay.
As a gift to the women.
Okay. So, I think generally, of course, women, maybe society has made that possible. Women are more, of course, they are more risk averse. And I think, I have a daughter, and I think sometimes I believe it's probably also what we communicate to the women forward from once they are young. They are doing something and saying, you are a lady, you can't do that. You understand? Maybe my son is doing something like you're telling him, you're saying, you can't be playing that kind of happily with your sister. Yeah? You're already telling her that you're special in a way, so you shouldn't do some things. But of course, we've also seen ladies that have gone ahead to do great things in life. We've seen that have done fabulous things. Yeah, women are more emotional. Women are fantastic people to have on your team, but they can also be dramatic because they can bring a lot of energies. You understand?
Please edit that part. Go ahead.
But it's the truth. It's because if you are going to do great things with women and you don't understand the dynamics of a woman's emotion, you're going to struggle too because you won't be able to get the best out of a woman. You understand? It's like, even as a married man, you have to understand how to channel your wife's energy. Because if you don't channel it very well, it's, yes, understand. So I think what I'll tell a typical woman to do is, first and foremost, is to understand that God created us all to do great things. God created every one of us for impacts. Yes, of course, there's a ladies and helpmates, you understand, male and female, they should combine their energy. But you have to understand that that is really typically within the framework of family. It's not within the framework. Someone like my wife is a medical doctor. When my wife is actually trying to be the best, she's a consultant nephrologist. When she's trying to be the best to her patients, she should not really be thinking like, oh, I'm submitted to my husband at that particular point in time. She's the impact. She's the one to change somebody's life. She's the one to extend someone's life, make somebody's health situation move from where it's going to be. So women should also not limit themselves to have this thing of, oh, yeah, maybe when she gets home, she's going to come and be pampered. When she gets home, there are some problems, she will never think about the solution because she's just like, my husband is there. But within what she's meant to create impact on, she needs to rise up. So what I would advise women to do is that while, of course, everybody wants to be a baby girl, trust me, everybody wants to like let some guy do all the stress for you. You must be intentional to say, I must not allow it affect where I create impact, where I influence my world. Else, I'll shortchange myself. So if you, for example, you want to be a developer as a lady, the truth is that you're going to see more male developers. So what is needed? Because and you know I can talk about this. I did a particular, on a course I did, I was trying to ask why don't we have a lot of female developers? Because, and I was saying maybe because to that kind of career path, you need a lot of attention. Most of the people that are going to teach you coding will tell you most of the best developers are male. Developing is something that they can't even come to my house and come and stay. So if the best developers are male, as a woman, you don't want to risk yourself and I'm sleeping over in a guy's house because I'm learning to code, the exposure, the risks and all of that. So I understand all of those biases. But a woman should ask themselves and say, within what is possible for me, how much can I do? How much can I stretch myself? I think that's what I would tell a typical lady to do. Don't bring your standards low in your mind because a lot of it has to do with the possibilities of our mind. There are things they will tell you a woman has never done before. But of course, we begin to see women, you understand? Like, and every time a woman breaks that limitation, you know, there was a story I told people at my bed, and I said, you know, one day my daughter was talking to my wife, and you're like, something I was telling my daughter that my wife was complaining that maybe in the hospital, there are the ways some people look at her and say, nurse. And she's like, for the opt-in time, I am not a nurse. I am a doctor. So my wife was like, how can, my daughter was like, how can your patient think that way? And because and when I said, well, don't you know that a lot of women in the hospital are rather nurses than doctors? My daughter was like, no, that doesn't make sense. You know why it doesn't make sense to her? Because her mother she sees every day is a medical doctor. So she can't have that biased narrative. So she can't get to the hospital and see. In fact, almost every lady she sees, she thought that all females in the hospital are doctors because her mother is a doctor. So there's also that narrative in society. And for all of us that have a girl child, it's something we all need to intentionally do. Like I was playing with my kids one day, and I told them, my son was like, so there was this question of, Daddy, what do you do? So my son said, Daddy works the business. And I was trying to explain to them that I work the business. It means that you own a business. Then my daughter says, okay, then what does mommy do? And I say, mommy works in a business. And my daughter goes and says, and my son says, when I grow up, I want to work a business. And my daughter was like, well, you work the business. I work in the business you're already working. After all, you're my other brother. And I can see Daddy telling you every day to take care of me. So why do I need to stress myself? You are going to work the business, right? That business you are working, I will work inside it. Because I can be rest assured I'm going to be fine.
Tell them their ages, by the way.
Yeah, so my son is 10, my daughter is 6. So you can see I just thinking like, I don't need to stress myself. And I can also see my father and my mother. I can see that for most of the things, my mother does not have to stress. And in fact, I had to correct my wife once. Sometimes my wife goes out with the kids, and they point to something expensive, and my wife tells them, you know, mommy cannot buy that. When daddy is around, daddy will buy it. And I have to tell her, stop telling them that, because you are sending something into their mindsets. You understand? So my daughter too can grow up and feel like, see, it's men that are meant to do this stress. So I can tell you, it's really a lot about the society, and we all do it unconsciously. So I have to tell my, I say, stop saying it. When you're outside with them, when they point to something, rather just say, we are not buying this thing. Don't tell them when your dad is around. You can bring it up. So now you ask a question about the distinction between the flesh and the spirit. So here's what I'll tell you. I think as Christians, you have to be 100%. So I'm not going to say the flesh now. You're talking about walk versus the leading of the spirit versus the being spiritual.
Yes.
So I will tell you to be 100% on both. What does 100% on both mean? So I'll give you an example. So I woke up this morning, and I'm going to use this example so that you get the picture. When Mr. Tarfa told me I needed to do this, interestingly, when he told me about this day, I told him, I'm going to be traveling to Ibadan tomorrow, so today is fine. Unknowing to me that there's actually, the means I'm going for in Ibadan tomorrow, actually there's a part of it that starts today. So today, I had to be like, okay, what are all the things I needed to do? First, I had to do interviews. I had interviews from 8:30. I had to do 2 interviews in the morning. So I told them, slot the interviews for 8:30 a.m. and 9 o'clock. Luckily for me, the 8:30 person was around. The 9:30 person wanted to reschedule. 9:30, I had to have a meeting with a deputy commissioner of police at Zone 2. I went for the meeting. Immediately I went for the meeting, I faced Ibadan. Of course, you know Tomiland is blocked. So I went to Ibadan. The meeting I was going for Ibadan was meant to start at 12. Luckily, the portion of the meeting I didn't want to miss was starting at 1. I got to Ibadan just like 5 minutes to 1. I got to the event. I finished the event, I started coming back. So what am I trying to say? All of these things, I'll be honest with you, I did not say, Holy Spirit, should I now go? Should I? I'm being honest with you. That's me. I didn't say, Holy Spirit, should I move? I shouldn't move. And that's what I'm trying to say. So that is 100% saying, this is logic. If I want to achieve all these things today, pam, 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 I need to do all this. In addition, I dropped my kids in school. So you are not partitioning your life. Now, in the midst of everything, where you are 100% spiritual, is a place that you still wake up in the morning as a Christian. You read the Bible. You listen to the Holy Spirit. You pray. And you now have the understanding that as you go through the day, the Holy Spirit is present with you. So a lot of the challenge we have in the church is our mindset. You know, there's this thing I tell people.
Tell us.
That, see, a lot of us think that hearing God, the best place we are going to hear God is in this auditorium, in church. So when we're in church, there's a way we are spiritually inclined. But I can tell you, most of the leadings that God is going to lead you, it's not going to happen in this auditorium. It won't. It will happen in the marketplace. It will happen as you are going about your daily activities. And that's why one of the things that you have to build as you mature as a Christian is sensitivity to the spirits. So it's not like you are just like, until I enter this mode. Because that mode, you know the problem? A lot of us think that being spiritual is in that mode we are when we're in church. You know that mode when we're in church, you don't do anything with it. You don't prepare PowerPoint presentations with that mode. You know, Holy Spirit, it's safe, there's a focus, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I'm telling you that when you leave this church tonight, and when you go home, and you face the reality, in fact, most of the things you are going to do that will advance you, that will move you forward in life, you will not do it inside the church. You are doing a presentation. You are having a presentation. So I'm presenting to you right now. The Holy Spirit must be able to speak to me and say, no, say this. So say that one. So I don't have to be in the speaking in tongues mode to get the leading of the Spirit. For me, that's Christian maturity. It's not just when I'm in church, hands are laid on me, I fall under the anointing, and the anointing is thick. There's a place for that. There's a nurturing it does for us as Christians. But we are going to live out reality when we leave this place. And most of those decisions are going to be made that way. The things, don't do this, don't invest in that, move, oh yeah, pick the phone, call this person. And, there's a message, when you also have to understand the way the soul, we are a combination of, a man is spirit, soul, and body. You understand that, the soul interfaces between the spirit and the body. So you are going to understand that as you grow as a Christian, there's a lot of maturity. And that's why you see a lot of time, you see Paul really saying things about the soul. So if you get to that point where you just want to be spiritual, you just want to operate in the realm of the spirit, it's not going to happen. You're going to realize that a lot of things have to do with your mind. The possibilities in your mind. See, I tell people, if I tell all of you, stand up right now, start praying for a vehicle. When you start praying in vehicle, let's pray for a vehicle for 1 hour. Pray in tongues. Real tongues. When we are done praying, everybody, if you are honest with yourself, there's a picture of a car that you prayed for. And that picture of the car has nothing to do with the spirits. It has all to do with the possibility in your mind. It has to do with the car your uncle once bought. It has to do with the car a friend of yours in the office bought. It has to do with something you've seen before. So all the energy, praying in tongues that you are sweating, everything is limited by your mind. In fact, there was something I wrote one day. I said, there is something that your faith in God cannot overcome, is your mind. The possibility in your mind, your faith will always be submitted to it. Because that's the possibility. That's what you can believe God for. There are a lot of things you pray for that you are not really mentioning, but you have a mental picture. And there's a way when you go out every day, you attract that mental picture. It's not like I'm saying something philosophical, but that's reality. You attract it. Let me give you an example that you will know that is very close. You see me today now, by God's grace. I like to use the example of what I want in my life. You see me, my sparking black, those shining black G-Wagon. I drive into this auditorium. Oh, Sola has a G-Wagon. When I leave, you will start seeing G-Wagons around. If before, because now, a G-Wagon has come, or let me use an example, but I've used the one for me. Let me use the example for most people are related with. Maybe you heard your friend bought one, let's say Toyota Highlander, or Toyota Corolla, or Toyota Camry. There are not times you are seeing, you not see a car, nothing, maybe it's your friend, because it's the color of your friend's car. Maybe it's my friend's car, but it's not your friend's car. It's not as if those cars have not been passing. It's not as if that particular color of cars have not been passing since forever. It's because it was not in your mind. So you could not attract it. I explained it in the beginning. The way our minds operate is attraction, is a law of attraction. So what is not in your mind? You can't actually attract it in life. You can't. Let me just shock you. A lot of you know Santorini. You know Santorini?
Yes.
Santorini is one of the... I will shock you guys. Call me local if you like to call me. Before 2017, I'm telling you the truth, I did not know anywhere like Santorini existed in the world. Call me local. Me, I have been there. I know some of you that are abusing me have not been there before. So it's your business. I did not know anywhere called Santorini exists in this world. So what happened? I went for a friend's wedding in Greece. We were in Athens. And while we were in Athens, we all just and then people say, Santorini. And I just picked my phone. Really? Santorini? I go to Santorini? Okay. And I booked a ticket, me and my wife. Let's go to Santorini. We'll spend 2 days because we're in Europe. I've just, okay, we'll do this. Okay, let's go to Santorini. I booked a flight. Went to Santorini for 2 days. I think we even slept maybe 1 or 2 days only. Yeah, 1 or 2 days. And then, 2 days. It was 2 days. Then after I left Santorini, my brother, everywhere I turned to, I started seeing Santorini picture. I'm not kidding you. I was in my 30s. So it's not possible that all my life, I did not see Santorini. But after you know now, that picture, there's this moon they have there. Once I said that Santorini, is that why? So Santorini existed in my life for 30-something years. I never saw it. It was the day meet where I went. But you know, you people are more enlightened than me. You people are botsy. Me, I did not have the opportunity. But I'm telling you, so it's important as a believer, and that's one of the things I feel like the church, we have shortchanged ourselves. We don't create mental pictures. We are very spiritual, but we don't understand the place of the mind. Your faith is subject to your mind. So today, if you buy a new car around me, and one of my friends bought a new car recently. It was a brand new Prado. I was like, I went closer. I checked it. Let me see. The mental pictures I constantly always want to have. One of my friends, I've driven his G-Wagon. I said, let me drive it. Because there's a point there's a place. I just understand how the mind works. So as Christians, we must also understand it. Our mind is very, very important. And we must feed our mind right. Because if we don't feed it, we shortchange ourselves. Now to your last
Gentleman.
To the framework. The framework is about you saying, how do I put things together that will support what I want to achieve in life? There are core principles that will support what I want. And if you read wide, I'll speak back to what Pastor Mane said. If you read wide, you begin to see, and that's one of my best book reading is autobiographies. Because when you read autobiographies, let me tell you the truth about autobiographies. Yeah, when somebody writes about his story, there's a way the person will be biased. If I write about my story now, I'll be biased. I'll say so. So another person will write about it. So I love both biographies and autobiographies. In fact, I love to balance biographies and autobiographies because there's a bias I will write my story from. Such that if another person is writing, then the perspective person is bringing to everybody. But it helps you because you begin to see, oh, this is someone, it's like you can see the end from the beginning. So if you are reading a story, someone like Nelson Mandela, it doesn't have to be a businessman. You see different people. Read Nelson Mandela, read Mother Teresa, read Steve Jobs, read E.W. Kenyon, read different people, Kenneth again, read about people. You see the framework and you see the outcomes. You see how there are different frameworks conflicted with some things. And you see most successful people I've seen always have a framework. Look at someone like Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett has a framework. And a lot of people will say, Warren Buffett was the richest man, he stopped being the richest man. It was his framework that made him to stop being the richest man was the richest man. Because it was his framework that did not allow him to invest in technology stocks early. His framework is that I don't invest in what I don't believe. That's the principle that made him a billionaire. He cannot validate that principle, now he's a billionaire. It's simple. You are now abusing him, looking at you like, this is the principle that made me what I am. You want me to now validate it. You that you have principle, did you become a billionaire like me? You did not. You are now abusing me that. In fact, let me shock you. Warren Buffett was a friend to Bill Gates' father. So I figured out that when Bill Gates was building Microsoft, you as a young trying to raise capital, maybe Warren Buffett was even in his house one day looking at him and telling him, Uncle now, see, and Warren Buffett say, this is I don't understand what you're talking about though. Me, I cannot give you money. But it's his framework. So I think read a lot of autobiographies, begin to identify what are the kind of frameworks that supports the kind of things I want to do and make decisions quickly. So when you leave this place tonight, I tell people, make decisions that are like these, and now executing, following with it is now the tough part because you need to be able to tell yourself, why am I doing this? And be ready to make the sacrifice because everybody around you will tell you that, are you sure this thing you want to do? But as you get results, people begin to align with you. So that intentionality. Now to the gentleman's, I'll tell you two things you can do quickly to help you and I'll tell you why it's important. See, as you continue to build a business, you realize two things that are very important in building a successful business. Maybe as much as I build, I will get more. The possibilities in your mind is very important. Let's say, for example, today you are running an agricultural business. And the agricultural business is, let's say, is a 10 million. Maybe you are doing another turnover of 10 million or 100 million. That 100 million, there must be something that opens your mind and tells you billions. It's not just because Pastor Degi lays hands on you and say billions. A lot of people think that Pastor lays, It's still the mind. When you're earning billions, there's a way your mind says, really, this business, how can it become billions? In fact, once you start that inquisition process, you are already in the right direction. Because you're like, this business, it cannot be billions. You are already critiquing. That's part of the process. So the possibilities in your mind. A number of times when I've seen people that did not work in a professional or see different areas, their possibilities may be limited. May being the word here, underline may, because they cannot see how what they're doing. Someone like me, I don't know how my books, when I was selling books, yes, I was selling 500K per month. So if I put in the year, that's 6 million per annum. If somebody told me, Shola, you can sell books of 16 million. Yeah, those days, Latana Ventures, which is one of the biggest. I used to come to Latana. I've been to Latana and met Pastor Remy Morgan, who's the owner of Latana. Yes, maybe when I come to Latana, I say, this is a bookshop. I look at the business and say, okay, maybe this business is a 200 million naira business or is a 1 billion business. Maybe my mind can open up to that by just seeing another person. It's possible. But the places I will work, that the accountant of Latana, who processes the amount of books they are selling every month, it is easier for that person to think of, I'm starting a book business, and our target is that in year 3, we will sell 10 billion. Because he is relating with the 10 billion like this every day. Although it is not his own 10 billion, no. It's another man's 10 billion. But, it's like he's looking at the guy that's doing the 10 billion. The guy does not have 2 heads. In fact, there are some employees that feel that they're even smarter than the employer. So the guy is even looking like, he's not even as if my boss is even, you understand? He's not even as if the boss is even that smart. And the guy is sitting and the guy is saying, our target this year is 50 billion. If you guys don't do 50 billion, it's trouble. So he has earned 50 billion too many times. That the day he's starting his business, the least he can do is 5 billion. If he's doing, there's something in his head. He's not a Christian. He doesn't need to speak in tongues for him to believe 5 billion. Your pastor will need to lay legs and lay eyes on you before you can believe billions. But his mind is open up to billions. And that's the starting point. Like I tell people a joke. My son, my children, me, to live in some places in this Lagos, it has to be faith. My children do not need to confess. If you gather my children and you tell them, confess you will live in some places in Lagos, they'll be looking at you, is everything all right with you? Do you understand? Because they are just looking at you like, what exactly are you confessing? You understand? You understand what I mean now? They're like, a lot of you, like I tell people, you went to university. They are not telling you, confess you go to university. You are looking at them like this. Your other brother went to university. Second born, you are the last born. You have 6 children. First born went, second born went, third born, fourth born, fifth. They now say, confess, you shall go to university. You look at the guy. We all go to university in my house. So I don't know what's your problem. I will go to university when it's time to go. That second thing you gain by working for people, and I'm talking about it so that I'll tell you how you can make up for it. Second thing is relationship. As you grow, you realize that there are some places you are not going to get to because of what you know, but because of who you know. So you are going to have to say, how do I get around this? And the place of work is a place where you can build relationship easily because you've worked with people. People have seen your handiwork. People can trust you. People can bank on you based on it. So you are going to miss those 2 things. So when you start working, so first thing I'll tell you to do, look for a mentor. Look for someone in business who can take you by the hand. Who is not going to be threatened by your success when you start being successful. He's going to take you by the hand. There's one guy that photographs, and the guy was telling me, he used to take pictures. His highest level of picture, his highest package was 50,000. So he met T.Y. Bello. And T.Y. Bello was like, you snap pictures, nice, very nice pictures. Like, this is your pictures. How much do you charge? So he said, so that he wanted to hype what he was doing. So he multiplied his 50,000 times 3 and said, I charge 150. And they said, you charge 150? How will you survive? How will you eat? How will you send your children to school? So him silly guy, even with my 150 that I thought I had multiplied, that is not even, I'm not even doing the 150.
Now what for T.Y. Bello?
You are still telling me it's too small. But it took him seeing that kind of person. And today, he charges $1 million. At least me, I've paid him that amount before. So I know. But he had to find someone, and his work is up to it. But what I'm trying to say is that If he didn't see someone that opened his mind, so mentorship will help you. Find a mentor quickly. Find mentors quickly. So that gap, because when that gap will begin to show, even you will not know. But you need to find those mentors. They will quickly help you. They'll open up your mind and say, what are you talking about? No matter your business, like, this business, you can scale it up to, you can move it up to this. And they continually stretch you. They don't get to accountability. They help you. Relationship. What I think you need to do actively on relationship is you need to be intentional. And that's one thing I think a lot of people in church don't do very well. A lot of us in church, it is only people in church you want to keep relationships with. Does not work. Even Bible said it. Paul said, he said, I did not say that don't associate with people that are not Christians. He said, if you were to do that, you have to leave this world. He's saying that I said don't associate with anybody who calls himself a Christian and is actually living in iniquity. Because some of us think that, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. It means that there are some things that you when you need, you realize that it's with them. You understand? So build relationships actively. Be intentional. You are in your neighborhood. Join resident association. They are doing meeting. Go there. This is what I do. This is what you do. Share. Don't be ashamed to say, this is my card. And you must learn to talk about what you do with confidence. If you don't carry what you do with confidence, there's nobody that will carry it. Today, that people don't even come to anybody's office. It's the way you're talking about your business. That's the memory I have of the business. Today, when people look at your website, that's what they think is the business. As close as I'm to Enzo, I'm sure I've not been into Enzo's office in the last 2 years. I've been to your office, but I've not been to Enzo's office. So you understand, sometimes it's a lot around perception. So you must be intentional around your perception, how people perceive you. And these are things that people that work in the corporate world is like second nature to them. They're not even thinking about it. They're just saying it, they are talking it, they are doing it. They know how to prepare proposal. When they finish preparing the proposal like this, there's this one that I learned last year, storytelling. I took a course, I'm not kidding you, I took a course in Stanford, the power of stories, how to tell stories. After my birthday, people came to me and said, Shola, you can tell this. I told them, I said, I paid for it. It didn't come free. I'm not kidding. Imagine you go to Stanford Business School. You paid. What's the course? Power of story, how to tell stories. And they taught us how to tell stories. Stories that when you tell, the whole audience, they are captivated. So you must be intentional and continuous learning. So you just need to really look at those gaps and catch up on it. I believe you'll be fine.
Hallelujah. Chai. Unfortunately, I can't take any more questions. This is the record we've broken. I think DDK's record was around this time too. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. I'm a man of authority. And they're sitting glue. They don't go anywhere like that. So please, let's put our hands together in appreciation again. No, that's it. So, thank you very much. We'll go down together. Thank you so much, sir. And I think I was really blessed. And I'm sure a lot of people here were blessed. It's a young church. We have a lot of young people here. So this is our gift to them. But a lot of things you said also, I'm happy that you amplified what our pastors have been saying. And it's not a cliche. Because as the elder, you have to quickly say, yes, this is true. It is what our pastors are saying. If it was not so, I'll keep quiet. You understand? At least. And it is. And I remember one pastor talking about the mind one time. To a point I was worried that, you guys are going to this mind thing. Then where is the spirit? But I can see the connection. And he had explained all of that. And of course, our dear pastors, all the D's, the D's, just Pastor Obi, okay. But we thank God. And thank you so much for coming. Thank you for the sacrifice going to Ibadan. Come back. I'm sure from this place we'll raise other kingdom influencers because of this seed. And that will be the greatest gift. And a lot of people now would get better organized with their lives. They will not just, he was clearly very disciplined and rigid. You can tell. Because he can definitely afford a G-Wagon, but that is his own delayed gratification. Well done, sir. I can see that attempt. I'm like, those small children in Lekki that those like this. What is the problem? That is some real delayed gratification. And he's a bully. You now come and bully me. This is your car, sir. Change it. Change it how? Is it with my teeth? I'm delaying gratification. Anyway. It's like, you should have done that earlier. I get it. No problem. Okay, you guys didn't laugh. No problem. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I deeply appreciate that. And we wish you a safe trip back to Ibadan tomorrow. And ladies and gentlemen, let's give him a God bless you as we thank him. And thank you.